Namaskar, hello and welcome to NCPCR Pariksha Parv 4.0. We have been having a lot of sessions with you to reduce your examination stress and anxiety. New India Junction, NCPCR and Doordarshan have come together to take forward Prime Minister's Pariksha Pe Charcha. Today's speaker is special. She is Dr. Swaroop Rawal. Known as an Indian actress, but did you know she also holds a PhD in education? Swaroop Rawal ji was chosen as one of the top 10 teachers in the world in 2019 for the Global Teacher Prize. She was also, her seva is not only confined to the walls of one classroom, but to the rural arena where her scope for caring, compassion and selfless service is unique. She has been involved in training teachers across the globe and specially training them to teach children with special abilities. Hello, ma'am. Welcome to the show.
Hello. And before we continue, a very big hello to all the students that are watching, wishing you the very best at the onset. Another thing is, I would love to thank NCPCR for inviting me to speak to you all. And thank you, Divya. I'm so happy to meet you.
Welcome, ma'am. Ma'am, the little that we say is not enough. Can you tell the children in your own words about your work in the education field, if you can tell them?
I would love to tell them because I have something very interesting to tell. Okay, students, I'm not making this up one bit. Okay. So, well, I passed through school and I went to college. And then guess what? At the age of 17, I was a college dropout. I just didn't feel like giving exams. And I thought it was so terribly boring to give exams. And you know what? I stopped studying. But it was always behind my back, in my mind that I haven't studied, because I believe studying is very important. It's not just about giving exams. It's about, gaining knowledge, understanding, and whatever anybody says, a degree is an honor. It could be an undergrad degree, it could be a bachelor's degree, it could be your school. Like I did my ISC and I value my ISC certificate so much. So I started studying again at the age of 38 and I became a teacher. So I have a very interesting story about that. Another very interesting story I have is that I teach children from nursery to postgraduate. I love teaching and I love students. And that's why I'm so glad to be here. And I hope whatever little I tell you will help you de-stress and do very well in your exams. So Divya, do you have any questions for me?
Yes, ma'am.
But before you say a question, can I say something? Okay.
Yeah,
this is really interesting. Can you see this mug in my hand, students?
Yes. Oh, it says Pariksha Rawal. I can see
Yeah,
that.
yeah, I stole that from my husband. Sorry.
Yeah.
Okay, so can you see this mug in my hand?
Yes.
It's not full. It's nearly empty. It's just little coffee. How much do you think it weighs? Just write down something, all of y'all. Okay, now let me tell you. From my perspective, if I hold this for a minute, it doesn't weigh much. If I hold it for 5 minutes, it starts weighing a bit more. If I hold this for 1 hour, my hand is going to hurt, my fingers are going to hurt, and it's suddenly going to weigh more. If I hold this for half a day, my hands are going to cramp, and I'm going to have to just leave this. You know what this means? Stress is like this. If you hold it for just a minute and you let it go, it doesn't weigh anything. If you hold it for a few minutes, it irritates you, makes you tired, but you can still leave it. But when you hang on to it for days on end, holding on to your stress, it starts harming you. That's the thing. Your hands start cramping, your body starts cramping, and stress does a lot of harm to you. So remember this. If you have stress, learn to let it go. Along the line, I'm also going to tell you how stress is great for you. But right now, it's just this story. Remember, if you hold it for a few minutes and you let it go, it's not going to affect you. Divya.
That was a very nice tip, ma'am, and a very easy way of explaining about how you have to let go the stress. Thank you so much for that
I
wonderful.
actually liked it very much, and that's why I wanted to share it with my young friends and tell them, don't hang on to your stress. Let it go.
And I also like the bit where you have stolen the mug from Paresh ji.
Actually, and you have to see what it says on the other side. Go fetch your own coffee.
This is just wonderful. I think I'm going to use this in my own life also now. So, ma'am, you remind me of a very good combination of beauty with brains. We cannot forget and we cannot not mention that you won the Miss India contest in 1979, if I'm right. And you also presented India at Miss Universe in 1979.
That's right.
So this was the time when much before you thought of pursuing your studies again and getting a degree. This was a very different time. And stress and anxiety on stage for a competition like that is, I think, similar to giving an exam, right?
Yes, it is. It's like, and students and Divya, I work on stage too. And it's so similar to giving an exam. You have to learn up everything. You have to learn up all your dialogues, and you have to go on stage and perform. And that performance is the performance. You cannot erase it again. Maybe you can do another show, but that day, that's what you did. So every time you have to give your best. And that's one thing I learned from my husband, Mr. Pariksha Rawal. He always is so ready for every performance of his. I'll tell you, students, as you may have guessed, I'm a bit naughty. So, I go yap, 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 and I talk around and stuff like that. And Paresh always teaches me one very beautiful thing. He says, preserve your energy. Don't waste it. So 5-10 minutes before the show, you will find him zipped up, sitting quietly, concentrating. And then when the curtain opens, you know what? Y'all have seen him act and you know how fabulous he is, because that's when he gives everything. So I think giving exams is a bit similar. You have studied, you've learned your lines, you've learned what you have to say. Now, before your exam, don't waste energy. Don't go all over the place. Sit quietly, concentrate, focus, just focus and come into line. And believe me, you try it out, you'll do very well.
That's a very nice tip, ma'am. And it's true. I think even I am a little bit like that. I talk too much and I need to learn how to preserve my energy.
Yeah, I talk too much. Yes, same.
Same pinch. So, ma'am, you have done your doctoral thesis on using drama to enhance life skills in children with learning disabilities. So, you have taken a part of your professional work, acting career, into your doctoral thesis. Can you tell us something about that?
Okay, so I was teaching children with learning disabilities, and I found that when I use drama, that is, an experiential way of teaching. So what does experiential mean? Because, for my 10 standard students and 12 standard students, it may be a very big word. Experiential is experience. So experiencing whatever you're learning. But it isn't like the activity which we do. We do a lot of activities in learning. Experiential learning is also about reflection. There was one very beautiful line I had read, that experience is not learning, but reflection on experience is learning. So, जो हम rote learning करते हैं, by heart करते हैं. I'm not talking of memorization. I'm just talking जो बिना समझ के हम जो रट लेते हैं, that never works. So if you try to understand what you're learning up, you may have to remember dates, you may have to remember formulas, like we have to remember, don't be scared of learning up by heart. Divya, I'll tell you something that's very interesting.
Yeah.
But my husband and I work in plays. Now the plays are something 2.5 hours long. You have to learn all the dialogues up by heart. So is that wrong? No, it isn't. But वो समझ के सीखे हैं. बिना समझ का जो आप रट लेते हैं, वो कभी आपको help नहीं करेगा. So always remember that. Just learn. So coming back to my PhD, it was in how to use drama. So what it means by using drama is that, you do the plays, you do the actions. And when you do that action, you remember exactly what happens with you and all that. And you can never forget it. So that is one of the best ways of learning. And guess what? It's there in our new National Education Policy 2020.
Yes.
A lot of experiential learning is there. A lot of art integrated learning is there. So especially for the younger ones, it's going to be great because, learning is going to change in India.
I did learn about the new education policy having everything that was so-called extracurricular is now in your curriculum, and I really wish this was during our time, because I was
Doesn't
also
matter, Divya. When you have kids, your kids will have this beautiful learning.
So yeah, thank God we finally have something like that happening, and we need to thank our Prime Minister for coming up with a book on exams also. Exam
Yes.
Warriors.
Isn't it fabulous, the book?
Yeah.
If you haven't read it, students, you must read it. I've read it. I loved it.
And it comes in 11 languages and also available in Braille for the visually impaired special children, which I think is fantastic. And this is something that Narendra Modi ji has been doing since his term in Gujarat. Whenever there is a book, he makes sure that it is available in Braille, especially for children who are visually impaired. Speaking of Gujarat, ma'am, you were selected by the then Gujarat Chief Minister Narendra Modi ji to head an educational program for children as one of the top 10 global finalists for the Global Teacher Prize, also at Varkey Foundation, amongst 10,000 nominations from 179 countries worldwide. So you have a lot of experience to offer our students. So students, you should start asking us some questions and we will make sure that ma'am answers them.
Sure, I will try my best.
Ma'am, when you traveled across the world to teach students, to teach teachers how to handle students, what tip do you have for teachers specifically to help the students?
The children will love me for saying this. One of the first things I tell the teachers is that you must learn to care. There are 3 caring professions in the world. One is medicine, doctors. The other is nurse. And the third one are teachers. Teachers are in a caring profession. So you have to care for your students. If you don't care for them, I think you're in the wrong profession. Another thing I tell teachers is you must experience empathy. What does that mean? That means that I tell the teachers, see, now you're 25, 26, 30, 40, whatever. Remember how it was when you were 10-year-old? Remember how it was when you were 6 years old? You did not know everything. So why do you expect the students to know everything? So I say, if we put ourselves in our children's place, in our students' place, we will become better teachers. So these are the 2 very important things I teach my teachers.
That's lovely, ma'am. And some tips for the parents too?
A lot of tips for the parents. One of my favorite tip, of course, loving your kids. And, I tell the teachers to love the children. That's a given. But one very important tip I give parents is that we do not allow our children to decide. We don't encourage their decision-making skills. As it is, we are not great at decision-making, and we have to practice it all the time. Now, what parents do is they decide everything for the children. what to wear, what to eat, who to make friends with, when to play, whether to do the homework or not, what subjects to take. And then when the children are 18-year-old, the parent turn around and say, क्या तुम अपने आप एक निर्णय नहीं ले सकते? अरे भाई, आपने पहले निर्णय लेने ही नहीं दिया. So how are they going to suddenly take decisions? So children, whatever age you are, and if you have younger siblings, tell your parents, please let us take small decisions on our own. Because when we take small decisions on our own, we will grow up to take good decisions when we have to take big decisions. Now, after the exams, the children will have to decide their profession. In fact, some of them would have already decided what they want to do. Now, whether that decision is right or not, only they can know. So we have to allow this, as a parents, allow them to take decisions. Another thing I want to tell parents is that no matter what kind of a parent you are, read to them. In the senses, don't tell me that you can't, itna pad likh nahi sakte. Please read to your children every night. I used to read to my children every night, and it makes a big difference. It's about having fun. It's about bonding together. जो TV allow nahi karta. Agar hum, what we used to do is we used to make the room nice and cozy at night, and my children would be sleeping, and I would sit and read to them every night. We had the greatest of bonds. So these are the two things I would like to tell parents.
So parents, there is a lot to learn for you too, and the teachers too, not just for the students. Ma'am, you were involved in the primary government school of Gujarat with training the teachers, I think. So can you tell us about what was your learning there with the teachers?
It was great fun. So I was training the teachers in life skill through drama. And initially we had a group of 40, and 10 of them got so scared they just went away because they were so stuck on doing their old nursery rhymes the same way that we do it. Whereas I was teaching them to do, different type of teaching where you walk into the class and you ask the student, hey students, what do we want to do? How do you want to do it? Let's do it your way. We learn what we have to learn, but let's do it your way. And, I don't think they had the guts to do that. The other thing is that we learned everything through drama, even history lessons, even language lessons, and all of that, we would play drama games and drama. So this I did in 2008. You know what? The teachers who learned then still use drama in education for the classrooms, and they are some of the best teachers in our country.
So, ma'am, we have some live questions coming in. One of them is, can you share a very important life skills that are essential for students? Life skills. This question is from Vinay. He's from Prayagraj.
Vinay, namaste. I've been to Prayagraj. It's such a beautiful place. Okay, so Vinay, all the life skills are very important. And I'll tell you what life skills are. Life skills are psychosocial skills with cognitive abilities. That is, they are psychological and emotional and social skills and thinking skills. So I have made a list of 8. Understanding and managing emotions, understanding self, effective communication skills, empathy, problem solving, decision making, creative thinking, and critical thinking. Now, one thing which is very, very important about life skills is that they're all interconnected. You need one to do the other. That's what it means. You can't do any of them separately. You need them all together. Like problem solving, you have to learn to make decisions. Now, when you're doing problem solving, you have to remember not to make emotional decisions. And if you know yourself well, you will be able to do good problem solving. So that's what I mean. You have to do critical thinking, creative thinking for good problem solving. So that's what I mean, is that they're all interconnected. Each of these skills are very important for students. Or why students? You know something? They're important from the time you're born till you die. जब तक life है, तो life skills चाहिए. So life skills are very important for everybody, all stages, all genders. It's important even for the security guard outside your school. It's for non-teaching staff. It's important for actors, doctors, politicians, anybody. So it's very important for everybody. So that's what life skills are.
So I hope Vinay, ma'am, has helped you with your question. Ma'am, our next question is on depression. Shubham from Etawah, UP asks, so he says, depression के क्या symptoms हैं?
Oh, symptoms.
स्टूडेंट स्टडीज पे कॉन्सेंट्रेट नहीं कर पाते, तो कैसे फाइंड करें कि उसको क्या प्रॉब्लम है? दिस इज फ्रॉम शुभम, ही इज फ्रॉम इटावा, यूपी.
Shubham, this is depression is not a disease. It's not something that you should look down on people with depression. It's just a problem, and that problem can be solved. I'll tell you what depression, I mean, there is not one symptom of depression. There are many. There are things like you just don't want to get out of bed and you want to continue sleeping. When you're continuously sad, you see, we do experience sadness, we experience grief, we feel low. But when it's continuous, it just goes on and on and on. Like how कभी बहुत रोना आता है, पर हम जब रो लेते हैं या चिल्ला लेते हैं या गुस्सा कर लेते हैं, फिर वो कम हो जाता है. Isn't it right? So depression is when it just continues. It continues, it continues. You may suddenly feel कुछ कितने दिनों तक खाने की मर्जी नहीं है. You don't want to eat. You just don't want to study. You feel life is hopeless. You feel it's not worth living. These are some of the signs of depression. If anybody who's listening to me feels these depression symptoms or something similar, or they see their friend experiencing this, please take them for help. Because it's not that you cannot succeed over depression. It's not the end. The end is when you do some harm to yourself. That is the end. So before you do some harm to yourself, some bodily harm, go to a doctor. Go and tell a responsible adult that I am feeling these things and I need help. It's not a shame. Remember this. It's not a shame. Like, I'll give you one example, is that in the beginning of the lockdown, when lockdown just happened, I did not go into depression, but I was getting into that very, very low mood because I was thinking, abhi main kabhi teach nahi kar paungi. Dunya ka kya ho jayega? Besides, we're talking of, social distancing. और मैं तो ड्रामा की टीचर हूँ, मैं कैसे सिखाऊंगी? And I thought the world has come to an end. But I sat and wrote down my reflections. I started doing exercises. I started going, of course we couldn't go for walks, but I'd put on good music and listen to it, like the kind I call Dinchak music. So you put on Dinchak music and then you just enjoy it. Another thing is, sit and write down in your diary, these are my feelings, this is what's happening to you. Or you sit and talk. And you know what? Like, I was 62 then, and my children was 20, my son is 28. I sat and chatted with him and I said, you know what? I'm becoming hysterical because I don't know what this COVID is and it's scaring me. तो देखा, सबके साथ ये होता है, ऐसा नहीं है कि सिर्फ आपके साथ होता है. Don't get scared, and it's not a shame. Go and talk to somebody and get professional help.
Ma'am, whatever you said about depression is actually quite relatable when you talk in terms of lockdown, because most of us felt that sense of gloominess.
Scared. We were so scared, weren't we? कि क्या हो रहा है, We didn't know.
And guess what, students? We overcame that. So now we are ready for anything, right?
You can see me smiling, can't you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The world overcame. So yeah, we are
Yes,
prepared.
absolutely. It's nothing to get scared of. But don't do body harm to yourself. Go and meet somebody, go and talk to a doctor, go and talk to your family doctor, go and talk to your parents, go and talk to a teacher, talk to a responsible adult. It's not a shame.
Ma'am, our next question is very connected to what we were just discussing. Shlok from Jamnagar is asking, Ma'am, what is the need of mental health in education?
Hey Shlok, how are you? Guess what? My family is from Jamnagar. Jamnagar is my hometown. So I'm just dying to come to see Jamnagar again. I haven't come for 10 years. But I will tell you, what is the importance of mental health? What is the importance of mental health in all our lives? And not only for studies. Mental health helps us to function well. You see, everybody experiences different kind of emotions. Like, people say, oh, happiness. But happiness is not the only emotion we experience. We experience things like loneliness, anger, sadness, grief, pain, so many different type of emotions. Life skills helps us take care of them, helps us to manage them, because none of them are bad emotions. Remember that. They're all there for our help, even fear, even stress for that matter. So all these things are there to help us. But when they go out of control, that's when it starts affecting our mental health. So life skills helps us to understand them and how to deal with them. Another thing life skills does is it increases your self-confidence. It raises your self-esteem. It helps you to understand yourself. So you understand what you're good at, what you're bad at, and that really helps in schools and professions, because then you will know what you're good at. And supposing I'm very good at writing, then I would start writing, And if I have to give an exam and I'm bad at writing, I would practice my writing. Do you understand that? The other things, it helps you communicate, it helps you talk, it helps you solve problems by talking, because communication helps build relationships. So all these things affect your mental health. And when your mental health is bad, then you start getting violent, you start substance abusing, you start having anxiety problems, you start getting into depression. So all these things, for example, are affected when your mental health is low. Life skills helps you have a good mental health.
So it's very important in education is what Shlok should know from Jamnagar.
And guess what? It's there in the new education policy. Life skills and creative thinking, critical thinking, problem solving, all these things, along with the knowledge of India, are a very important part of the national education policy.
I think we can't thank enough to the new government for making sure that the new education policy, the national education policy, has all the things that are important for the betterment of the children. Ma'am, how can students deal with nervousness during exams in spite of being prepared for the exams?
Okay, so I was just waiting for this because I kept saying I'll talk about stress later on, remember?
Yeah.
So, now stress के दो पहलू हैं. One is good and one is bad, right? So good is good because when you're stressed out, you will sit to study. When you're stressed out, you will try to do well. If you're just relaxed all the time, you just won't be bothered about anything. Do you get what I mean?
Yeah.
So थोड़ा सा stress अच्छा है. Bahut stress is bad. Remember, I told you about this. So, when it's too much stressed or you're getting very anxious, there is one very, very important thing I believe, and I think we should do that, is breathing. So don't wait to learn pranayam just before the exams. Start doing it before. Start doing it when you're studying. It'll help you focus more. Learn pranayam. Learn yoga. It's very good. And we are so blessed to be born in this beautiful country, which has started, which created this wonderful shastra of yoga and pranayam and all. So when you do breathing, it starts making you calm down. One of the simple scientific reason is that you're taking in oxygen, which your brain needs. Isn't it true?
Yeah.
Then you're holding your breath, you're releasing your breath. The breathing which we do left and nose. There's a research which says that it helps heart patients. And that research was done in the West. So even they have realized how good pranayam is. I think if I have to say one thing, I would say pranayam. Start doing it before. Start doing it while you're studying it. Do it before you go for your exam. You know what? The best thing about pranayam is you can quietly do it just before your paper. When the ma'am is giving all the papers and you have to sit quietly for 2 minutes. Why don't you do that? It's such a wonderful thing.
Just
Students, try it out. I promise you it'll help you. It'll really work with you. So it'll help you focus. That's one of the best things to do. The other thing is be aware of yourself. So, Jaise, I know when I'm going to get a panic attack or when I'm going to start losing my temper, I start feeling it inside and my hands start becoming like this. Now, when it's coming, start being aware of it and start taking control over it so that you don't have a panic attack when you're writing. And you know what? It happens all the time. I can tell you about this very interesting incident. Remember, I told you I was studying again at 38 and I was doing my master's in English literature. Now, in English literature, we had romantic poets, Wordsworth and Keats. I'm sure you all have done that, students. I did that when I was in the 10th standard. Now, what I did was studied only one and I didn't study the other one. I just read the other one. So I studied Wordsworth and I just read Keats. When I went to the exam and I read the question, oh my God, the Wordsworth question was so difficult, I could not answer it. And you know what I did? I just put the paper down, I put the pen down, and I closed my eyes for 2 minutes. And I remembered everything I learned when I was in school in the 10th standard on Keats. But I just calmed myself and I said, no, I will answer Keats. I've read the poet, so I know it, and I will answer that. And you know what? I'm really not faking this. I got the highest marks for this paper.
Wow.
The other one, I was like, I know everything. I went and wrote. But this was the one where I sat silently for 2 minutes. I thought, doesn't matter if I'm wasting that 2 minutes in calming down and centering myself instead of being hysterical and writing all wrong. So that's what I mean, is that you all should just calm down. Be calm and then do it. Okay? So remember that. Another thing is, what you eat before the exam is a very important thing. So eat some nice carbs, eat some nice protein. Don't have too much sugar because it'll just give you a sugar shot, headache, straight up. But eat something which is proper and it stays in your stomach because that's what's going to help your brain function. We just think that we eat for energy to run, to play. but we don't realize that our brain needs food. So our brain needs carbohydrates, like you have a good a bread, butter, a roti sabzi, something like that, something nutritive. Have a fruit and go, have a banana, have something good and go. And that'll be a very, very good thing. Another thing to do is loosen yourself up. So do a bit of exercising. I'm not saying tire yourself up, but maybe jump on the spot, do your arms, do your fingers, do that and go. I think these things will help. And sleep. Remember to sleep well at night. It'll make a huge difference.
I think I've also realized lately that you can go on fast without food, but you can't fast from sleep. It's something really important.
Yeah, you need to sleep well. Yes.
Ma'am, we need to learn and recall a large amount of information for an exam. Like you spoke about rote learning, and you spoke about how even in acting, Paresh ji and you all have used, you have to understand it before performing it. So how to do this easily in exams? How to understand a concept and not, so that you don't have to do rote learning?
See, there are two parts of it, of studies. One are the things that you have to learn by heart. There is no question about it. But the bit you have to learn by heart, don't just learn it up by heart. Learn it with understanding. Because if you just learn it up by heart, I'm guaranteeing you one thing. You'll go to the exam and you'll blank out and you'll forget. But agar samajh ke seekha hai, then it'll be, you won't forget it. There's a logic in all this. Every formula has a logic. And if you've understood that formula properly, understood the examples, then you will not forget it. The other things is, the mnemonics, in which you write charts or you make a rhyme. And, those will help you, remember them. Like the one which is, of course, for the universe, like my happy mother, like you just remember, you make a word from the lines that you have to remember, and then remember the word and then go and, keep it. I don't know, these are things which kind of help a lot of students, I found. I'll tell you what helps me.
Yes, ma'am.
I need to write it down.
Yeah, I
so
think
whatever I have to remember, I have to write it down. So you could do that. Another thing is you could tape it. You've got cells. वो audio tape करो, सुनते रहो. So whatever it is, for me, I know that even a poetry, if I had to learn it up by heart, I had to write it down. So whatever works for you.
So these are some really nice, helpful tips. Please take them into your life so that it will help you. Ma'am, another question very commonly asked on our NCPCR website as well is what if the child tell that he or she is nervous because of not being well prepared for the exams to this parent? So how should the parent react to this situation? The child is confronting that I am not prepared before the exam.
You know what? As a parent, the only thing I feel is just give support. You just, abhi last minute, the child is not prepared, you can't do anything about it. Now, jo bhi सीखा है, जो भी कुछ याद है, जो भी, that child can do and go and write, that child will write. If you just go on yelling at the child and say, मैंने तो पहले से बोला था, study करो, तुम अभी नहीं कर रहे हो, अभी तुम ये, it's not going to help. One thing I learned as a parent is, I did not want to spoil my relationship with my children for marks. You know what? If they fail in this exam, they can give it again. What's the big deal? Just, you want to spoil relationship with your child for a silly thing like marks and exams? I don't think it's worth it. Ulta, give your child support at that time and say, no, beta, now don't worry. Just go and try and do your best. Like make the child do a bit of pranayam, make the child calm down and say, abhi jo kuch bhi malum hai, jaake likh ke aao, we will see. That way you'll at least help the child. Maybe the child will remember that in my bad time, my parents stood by me and helped me. You understand? Yeah. Because nahi padhai ki, to now it's too late. And it's just ridiculous to go on shouting at the kid and all that. What is better is that you help the child make a timetable and, study in advance. पर जब ये हुआ ही नहीं है, तो अभी last minute करने का क्या फायदा? Support the child. One thing remember, for marks and exams, don't spoil your relationship with your child.
So parents, that's a lot of learning for you over there. Ma'am, a child is studying all the time without taking a break, for example. So how it can affect the child, and in such a case, how should the parent help the child? कभी-कभी कुछ बच्चे होते हैं जो
I know वो ऐसा नहीं करना चाहिए. They should take a break. Maybe the parents can say, come on, let's go for a walk together. Let's go and if the mother's as mad as I am, then say, come on, let's dance together for 5 minutes, 10 minutes.
That would be lovely.
Yeah, seriously, just have some fun together. See that the child eats properly. See that the child sleeps well. This is the time I think they need your help. पता चला जब वो कॉलेज जाएंगे तब तो आपकी मदद मांगेंगे भी नहीं. Or that time you'll feel so bad. You'll say, hi, mera bachcha is doing everything on his own. He doesn't need my help. So you will miss that, So why don't you make something interesting for the child to eat and say, okay, now let's have some snacks. And while you're eating the snacks, let's get away from books. So do things like this so that, the child can get up from the chair, move around a little. Thoda. Again, you will say, कि ये मैम क्या प्राणायाम करती रहती है. But make the child do a bit of breathing, yoga, exercises, just dancing, listen to music, put on, give them something they like to eat. Do that.
Personally, I would have loved if my mom would just get up and dance with me, one. And secondly, I think the snack bit really works. Because किसी चीज के लिए नहीं उठो, खाने के लिए अच्छे snack के लिए तो उठेंगे ही बच्चे. Break ले लेंगे.
चलो मैं तुम्हारे लिए और घर का ही करो. Don't give outside food. And we can do so many things at home. Just as simple. I remember my grandmother would say, okay, let's put sugar on your toast today, and wow, that was like such a treat. So anything, choti si cheez.
So anything interesting. So ma'am, when parents compare their children with other children, how does it affect the child? Because this is very common, and especially Indian households में रिश्तेदारों के बच्चों से भी comparison होता है. Not just पड़ोसी के बच्चे.
It's terrible. It's the worst thing to do. Never compare your child to others, and don't compare to your own, their own siblings.
Yeah, that also happens.
Yeah, like तुम्हारा बड़ा भाई ऐसा, तुम्हारा छोटा भाई. Oh God, don't do that, because it's very bad for their self-esteem. Because remember, each child is unique. It's like the thumbprint. किसी का thumbprint same नहीं है. किसी का, something? किसी का laughter भी same नहीं है. All our lips are even different. So all these things are different. Why should each child be same? Each child is good at something, and that you have to help them find. See the good in that child. Say, oh God, you're so nice. You're such a kind boy. He may not be intelligent. तो क्या हुआ? Like he may not be getting 90%. How does it make a difference? Because once school and college is over, these 90% and 50% and 60% never matter. I was just an average child. I was barely making it sometimes. And today I have 2 PhDs. And I'm here giving advice on giving exams.
So you never
think
know.
Of that. Exactly. So it just doesn't matter, It never matters. Afterwards, it just doesn't matter.
In most of our sessions, we used to get this question a lot: ki your marks, you are judged by your marks, or parents tell you that your exam marks depend, matlab your whole life is depending on your marks, and also that you have to give exams in order to get a job only. So these things, I think, create a stress. So what can
But
be
you know
done?
something, one good thing is that again, the national education policy is going to change all that. We're going to be having vocational education in schools, and we're going to get our children ready for work life, besides just these high mark subjects like medicine and engineering. But there are so many things you can do. You just don't have to do medicine. You can excel in so many professions. So it's just false that see, मेरा लॉजिक ये कहता है कि अगर ये बच्चा engineering में, या he's going to go for medicine, then that child is going to be naturally studying well. He will get the marks. But the ones who are not getting the marks, maybe they're not meant for medicine and all. They're meant to do other things. There are so many professions in the world. You just don't have to depend on marks.
And now with the new education policy, parents will realize that skills development will take them much more ahead in life than just getting marks or getting a degree.
Take them just ahead of things. Yeah.
Because in our professional work, we often notice your results, your marks on the paper don't matter as much as your skills matter. Even if you have got the
of
job.
How well you can talk, how well you can behave, like if you can paint well, you can, there are so many other things.
These days, there are so many digital skills to learn. Digital ho gaya hai India, so there are a lot of digital skills that you can take.
Absolutely, yes.
Ma'am, how can the parents help their children if they feel that their child is disorganized, to get some organization in their life?
So one of the things is help them make their own timetable. Don't make it for them.
Okay.
So, then, and one thing is that may help them make a timetable. Another thing is I find, and they study, one more thing, don't study on the bed. If, you don't have a proper table chair, that's not an issue. Sit on the floor. Don't sit on the sleeping place and study. That's a very bad habit. The other thing is cut out the clutter around you. Jo bhi, you want to study, just keep that over there. And, the other thing is, write down what you want to do. Like, don't say that, I want to, say from 10 to 11, I'm going to do maths. No. Say, what are you going to do? Like, say, supposing I'm saying 10 to 11, I'm going to do poetry. No, don't do that. Say, I'm going to study Keats, or I'm going to study Eliot's, and I'm going to study this poem, and I'm going to learn to answer these questions. So make it particular. Don't make it, random. And then say at 11 o'clock, supposing it's 10 to 11, then at 11 o'clock, stop. Get up, move around, come back. Another very interesting thing, I had read it, and I would really suggest that parents can try it out, is do a video of you studying.
Oh, why is that?
I'll tell you. So when you're doing a video of yourself studying, you will see the other things you're doing while you're studying.
Huh. Yeah.
And when you see yourself doing that wrong thing, you'll say, Arey, I stopped studying. I mean, I claim that I studied for an hour, but in this 1 hour, I played with the pencil. I stopped studying. I was drawing. Another thing is, don't keep of course, this video thing is there, but otherwise don't keep the cell phone in the same room that you're studying. Keep it away. So take away distractions. So these are some points, which will help. Take out the clutter. That's one thing. Don't keep things that distract you around while you're studying.
I think this recording thing works very well, I think, because you don't see yourself from other people's point of view until you are
Yes,
recording yourself. So you are only seeing what you think you look like or what you're doing.
yes.
But when you see it from other person's point of view, you realize, okay, that is how I'm looking. So
Yeah,
this
and
is
this
what
is
I'm
what I'm
doing.
doing. Like you can make out, I'm not studying, I'm like whiling my time away, you know?
And then you realize parents and teachers सही तो बोल रहे हैं कहाँ पढ़ रहा हूँ.
Yeah, exactly, exactly.
So, ma'am, we spoke about distractions, right? So, if a child is distracted and couldn't focus on study, what should the parent do to, make sure that the distractions are as less as possible?
Yeah, that's what I said. Like, don't keep the cell phone near you. Take out all the clutter. Take out things that can disturb you, you know? Take all that away from you. Don't lie down and study. You know, sit and study. So these are things, and make it short. Don't make it, you know, long hours. Like, don't say 3 hours of studying together. Make it 1 hour of studying, then walk around again, drink a glass of water, sit down again for an hour. So you will be able to do it better. You will get less distracted.
Ma'am, how would you explain choosing fields in this new education policy has a lot of skills, etc. But when it comes to Indian parents and Indian society, we often get told कि engineering ले लो या medical कर लो.
Yeah.
And MBA कर लो, commerce अगर ले रहे हो तो.
Correct.
So these kind of things we are often told. So there is like a set idea. Even job related कि government job कर लो या कुछ private में
Yeah.
stability नहीं है. But the mindset has to be changed specifically for parents. So what would you like to tell the parents and the teachers who tell them कि अच्छा उसी को माना जाता है जो medical करे. अगर तुम्हें prove करना है that you are good in studies, then you should take this up. So this mindset needs to be changed overall.
This mindset needs to be changed. And I think parents, first of all, need to change. One of the things, see, you can't blame parents because you want the child to go to the highest paying job. But now we'll realize that there are lots of other jobs that are going to be high paying. You know, things are changing. India's changing. So, look around for that. Pehle ke zamane mein, like, now there is hotel management. And that's such a great job because, you can open a restaurant, you can go and work in a restaurant, you can become a writer. Like my son has done his master's in screenplay writing and playwriting. So you can write, if you like writing, you can do that. Now, even our sports people are doing so well. Our badminton team did so well day before, I think day before yesterday. We had this wonderful girl who's won the gold medal in
Yeah.
boxing. So,
Yeah.
sports is becoming such a great profession.
And it's not just cricket anymore.
Yeah, it's not
sports are
cricket
getting-
anymore. There is badminton, there's boxing, there's tennis, there's so many other professions. So, I mean, sports. But besides that, there are lots and lots and lots of professions, like there's fashion designing, there's the restaurant business, there's tourism. So I think parents should take the trouble to go and find out about different type of vocations and, have a talk with your child and see what they want to do, So that's what I think.
That's true, ma'am. We are almost coming towards the end of our session. Before we end the session, I would like to ask one question, and I'm sure you also want to say some things before we conclude. But before that, ma'am, now that we have so many options, now the problem is also going to be where to go, what to do. Earlier, we used to have, I remember during my time, we used to have these aptitude tests, which used to tell you basic arts, science, या commerce क्या लें. पर ये तो basic हुआ. Now we have so many things, so many career options in front of us, so many degree options in front of us.
Right.
So at the age of 10th, usually the common questions that relatives are asking you, कि क्या करना है आगे life में. And it's a very big question for a guy who's thinking 10th का exam, 12th का exam तो clear कर लूँ, life में क्या करना है कैसे पता है. So how does a child cope up with this, deciding?
So one of the things is that you need to decide what you like to do, what is your good, I don't want to get into multiple intelligence and all that, but you have to realize what you're good at. And, how good are you good at um, using your hands? Are you good at using your, do you have a good color sense? Do you like to talk? Do you sing well? Are you, caring? You want to help people all the time. So you need to see about yourself. Now that I think parents and the children, they should start doing that, from the 8th, 9th standard, 10th standard. I think it's still early to decide what you want to do. But, there are so many things you can do. And, whether you're good at music, whether, like there'll be some people who are not at all good in music.
Yeah.
Or there could be some people, like the doctors are the ones who all the time want to help people, and they want to take care of people. Agar tumme wo kshamta hi nahi hai, to you don't think you can become a doctor, right? So, like if you're good in mathematics, then you would take professions that need more mathematics. If there is things that, you like animals, then there are so many things you can do with animals. You don't only have to become a vet.
You can also go into animal photography, wildlife photography.
You can go into wildlife. There is one friend of mine called Mona Patel, and she takes the most incredibly beautiful pictures of animals, and she's won, she's been awarded, she's got awards for that.
Wow.
Then, you could start working for things like National Geographic and all that. So there are so many things. Like one of my friend's daughter who loves animals, and she's doing marine biology.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yes. So, it's not that you're limited or aisa hai ki. Now, when I say marine biology, obviously it's so good. Like one of my friend's son was great at computers, and he's, they're studying the DNA on the computer. So it's with medicine, but it is, all computer work. So the world has really opened up, it's not like how it was when I was young. And each profession has, it's honorable, it's respected, it gives you money. So I think you should find out what you would be happy doing. Like, Paresh, he always wanted to become an actor, and his father had a business, but he did not go into the business. The younger son went in the business, his younger brother, because Paresh knew कि उनको सिर्फ acting ही अच्छी लगती है. And now he's in such an honorable position. But if he was not an actor, he'd probably be such a sad person. Right? I mean, like he would be kitna dukhi ho jata bichara. So this is how it is.
So, ma'am, in your case, you were also an actor. You also chose to do your studies and be an educator, and which says that even if somebody has chosen a different path in life, like we have a lot of people from IIT who are now directors, who are now actors. So that's also normal. It's okay if you make the...
Exactly. My elder son first did hotel management. Then he did his master's in theatre. And now he's working in theatre and films. So it's okay, you can want to change. Like I've studied art too, Divya. I've studied commercial art.
That's nice.
But I use all of that in my teaching. So it's, ये कुछ waste नहीं जाता.
Yeah, nothing goes waste, true. अब जैसे we are about to end the session, यहीं पे देख लो, we have a cameraman, we have a social media team that is making sure everything is getting recorded. We have people who are making sure the net is working fine. So many things at the same time. If they didn't have these skills...
I'll tell you one very interesting thing. I'm so happy you said that. So I did a workshop with children in a village, filmmaking. And when we started it, they said 3 professions. Cameraman, because they didn't say director of photography, director and actor. 3. A week later, they came up with 26 professions. makeup man, hairdresser, costume designers, tailor, embroidery, weaver, assistant director, screenplay writer, songwriter. So, I mean, there are so many things.
These days, there is a stylist, there is a PR team, there
I
is so
know.
much social media manager they have, other than
Exactly.
their own manager. So I think a film set employs a lot of people.
Right?
Yeah. So, ma'am, on that nice note that there is a lot of work out there, you just have to find your true potential.
Yes.
We can bring our session to an end. It was lovely talking to you. I loved it. I hope you enjoyed it as much, ma'am.
I did. It was so nice meeting you, Divya.
Yeah, I wish I could have met you in person,
We will meet.
because I usually do this small, quick, rapid fire session with all the guests, which I'll be missing out on with you. Maybe someday, very soon, we'll do that,
Sure,
ma'am.
definitely. So, can I wish the children?
Yes, ma'am. Please go ahead.
So, namaste, children. And I'm going to wish you and send you lots of blessings. I pray that you do very well. Remember, thoda stress अच्छा है, बहुत stress अच्छा नहीं है. So just calm down. You will do your best. I'm wishing you lots and lots of love. Best of luck.
Thank you so much, ma'am. So many, to all the audience that tuned in, so many wishes and blessings from ma'am, and so many tips that we have. I'm sure now you will be even more prepared for life, just not for the exams that you want to appear. Keep tuning into Pariksha Parv, and I hope we have helped you a little bit, or if not a lot more, to make your Pariksha in an utsav, a celebration, and not something which is a matter of stress. Namaste. This is Divya Singh Sharma signing off with Dr. Swaroop Rawal, ma'am. Thank you.